Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Post Credits Podcast, a show where we are lucky enough to talk about movies with you. Pew, pew, pew. You think the guns? You guys like that? The finger guns?
He said, do that.
He said post.
This is episode 18, recorded on February 23rd, 2025, to get posted to podcast services. What?
Twice.
We just talked about Cleveland. Careful of gang signs.
Oh, yeah, there you go. All right. Opening up a whole. We should really start it, but we're not going to get posted to podcast services on February 25th. The usual spots: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, and YouTube. A day or two later.
Yep. Don't worry, Grayson. We'll edit it in post.
We're not. No, that's not going to happen. I used to have. I used to have complete control over that. I have control over the audio, but not the. Roger has all the podcast or all the YouTube stuff. Anyway. We have a good show today, as we do every week. We're going to blabber on for a few minutes. Then we have the box office, a movie recommendation from Chris. Then we're going to do a few minutes on the complete unknown. Roger may or may not do a 5-minute segment on smoking. And
we agreed to 14 minutes.
I mean, there's a lot of smoking in the movie. And then we're going to talk about The Unbreakable Boy.
There's less smoking in that film.
There's far less.
There's more. There may be more drinking in that movie, though.
That's actually possible.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
I am one of your hosts, Grayson. I absolutely do not want to break my sternum. Maxwell joining me.
I thought it was his vertebrae,
or whatever this is. Isn't this
3 vertebrae? It was what he broke in that.
I forgot my 10th grade
sternum's fine. That
I mean, listen, also would suck.
Yeah,
it would too. Joining me as they do every week are my co-host Roger. I can deal with the pain of an arm break. I'm guessing Stillion and the lovely Chris. I once broke my dick, Bon. I'm guessing at that. I don't know if that's true. I'm guessing. I don't know.
This got really weird.
I would like to note, I don't
like the segue.
I have never broken a bone in my whole body ever once.
I don't like the segue.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was true for me too until about the rape age of 31. So
yeah, what'd you do then?
Broke a couple bones in my hands.
How'd you do that?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
Did it involve what I just said? Is that correlated at all?
No. Again, weird segues. Continue.
Anyway, boys, how are we doing this week? What's going on? We are 1 week closer to Christmas.
I mean, he's technically right.
He's not wrong.
Yeah, I can't.
My brain just broke.
I have no rebuttal to be like, you're a moron, but no, he's right. Every week that passes, we become closer to Christmas.
He's not wrong. I hate this.
Yeah, we are 1 week out from the Oscar show that we're going to be doing for you people, and we're going to do it a little bit differently for the first time. As we're doing this with video, something we have done in a former venture that we did that actually is quite fun for us. We actually hang out with each other for the whole evening.
And by us, we mean me and Roger.
Grayson has been here for these. Like he's been in studio. Like we've done them together before. But the last couple of years, it's Grayson being remote. We log on and we chat together while we watch the Oscars, and it's an all right time. Honestly, it's pretty fun. We get some pizza and hang out and bullshit with each other.
I've never been in the same room as Grayson during the Oscars. I can say that.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's true.
Is that really true?
I think it might be.
Yeah, I think you've been remote for all the ones that I've been around for.
Fair enough. However, your first Oscar was the slap, so that's the big.
My first Oscar was the best Oscar. So.
Been chasing that dragon ever since, baby. Ain't never gonna happen again.
Super exciting that year. I don't know what happened.
You really missed a super fun year when it was like 27 minutes long and it was like fucking great.
Yeah, that was wonderful. What was I going to say about that? That's a lot of fun. I think it's a lot of fun, the banter. We are trying something new this week. And next week, we are going to record, before the awards are given out, we are going to record what we think might be how the things break down. So there can be
have our own little ballot, and we're going to see who actually does good or bad, and we're going to go from there.
There can be no tomfoolery at that point. None.
I mean, there certainly can be because, again, I will have the editing abilities, and
I have the editing power, but not the will.
Can you change? Hold on. Can you change what we say of our choices though? How do you?
I could just cut what you say out and put me in going. I've said this.
Fair enough.
His mouth is moving, but it's your voice.
That's so much.
I vote for Honora.
There's no way you'll do that. It's too much work.
I mean, certainly, but also I probably would just be voting for. Vote for Honora will be a good bet. I will tell you right now.
I don't know.
Has AI exists though, so we could just run it through that.
That's the thing. AI. I've been hearing a lot about AI lately about how it's changing movies, and it's just I'm really kind of down about it because I don't want movie like if you take the human element out of the humanities, which is the arts, what's the point then? You're just
Isn't it fun? Isn't it funny how you can look at any industry, and if you ask them, they'll say no, we're not having any ventures with AI whatsoever. When we won't shift any of our production or such and such to AI, and everyone's like that hard wink. You know what I mean? Like
sure.
You mean the fucking first chance I get? Hell yes.
Like all of a sudden there's an AI research and development department. Weird. Yeah.
So I remember back in the day the discussion about like replacing like some of those jobs in McDonald's, like on the food line, like make the food as it is ordered. Like, I mean, you remember the discussion about like making the fries more automated? Like how much of a you're going to cause thousands of jobs. Like, do you remember that discussion?
Look, I once went to a pizza vending machine and it made me a pizza. So, but look, that was peak societal advancement. Like I could walk up, I put $4 into the machine, and I watched it make me a fucking pizza. It was incredible. I have never been that happy since. And now I just expect the robots to rise up and kill us.
That was the peak of your life? Is that what you're saying? Like that was it?
Yes.
Don't you have a daughter, sir?
Yeah, don't you have a daughter?
Yes.
Haven't you had a daughter? Haven't you been married? Haven't you done a million other things that are cooler than that? But here,
hold on. I don't know about cooler. I understand where he's coming from. You know what I mean?
Like, look,
I agree.
That was a fucking good pizza.
That's kind of hilarious. So, before we move into the show, Chris, how's Dogman?
So, boys.
Okay, this ought to be good.
I have successfully avoided Dogman.
Chris's wife.
Listen.
Are you listening to this? Are you listening to this?
It's her fault.
Oh.
She turned it on streaming one day while the kids were in the living room.
Wait, Dogman's available to stream already?
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Really? Did you buy it?
Listen, they watched it, they loved it, and apparently it's fantastic. Kids of all ages will enjoy this. Most ages, young ages. And
RoboCop.
Guess what? I didn't see a goddamn second of it.
That's
right. Boys, we made it.
Nice.
Wait. Did you guys?
I mean, there will be a Dogman 2.
Stop.
Did you buy it?
I don't even know, man. I wasn't even in the room. Present in the house, never called for. Oh, greatness.
All right, well, that's one thing. Number two is, again, we're talking about the premeditated no Valentines for your wife decision.
Listen, I wasn't the only one with that thought, apparently. She didn't give me nothing either. You know what I mean? We're good.
I mean, there is a difference between murder and premeditated murder.
I'm 2 for 2.
I'm saying, Roger. Chris, I think your day.
Did you ever watch Minority Report? It's a big difference.
I feel like when I'm weirdly not here next week, you guys can figure out why.
He's finally dead. His wife stabbed him. He's dead.
Finally implies that people have tried. You know what I'm saying? So,
I mean, look, I'm feeling most wives contemplate it most time. I have a feeling most wives contemplate it quite often, to be honest with you. But
we'll talk about that in a later movie we're going to discuss.
If your wife hasn't contemplated it at least once or twice, are you really husbanding correctly?
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's on you at this point. Step your shit up.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
you suck.
Bring your game up. So anyway, we have a show
about movies and.
Let's do a show. Why
don't you keep us on the rails, sir?
Once again, folks, this is episode 18 of Post Credits Podcast, where we are lucky enough to talk about movies with you. Let's start off with the box office, as we normally do.
Oh, I haven't looked at this at all today.
This is going to be riveting.
Well, no, it's not at all. Captain America: Brave New World is 28.2. That's like a 70% drop off.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that too.
With a worldwide of 289. So, I have one question for you: Is it
500s in play?
Is it the haters who are saying this movie's not getting money, or it's because it's a poorly written mid to okay movie? Let's be very careful with this.
Let me shortly summarize that it absolutely and probably is both.
Yeah.
So I think that this makes complete sense from the movie I saw.
I agree.
We're not gonna it needs to be a big movie to make big money at this point.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you fall out of good graces with your fan base. That's all there is to it.
Sure. Yeah,
well, I know I'm lowballing the number, but I know this is a lot lower than the number I know, but I'm not for fear of I'm not going to talk about it, but it has to clear 750, and that's low to become profit.
Well, it ain't gonna do that.
Oh,
no,
it's not
even close. That's a major.
Look, it's absolutely in play for 500. Like
a long 5, right? Like it's gonna take a while for it to get there.
I mean, no, because it's not everywhere yet. It's not completely overseas yet. Fair. Like, well, listen, we'll probably see a boost up over the next couple of weeks, but it'd be 550's top for this. That's it.
I mean, for the movie I saw, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's
fine.
Yeah.
Number 2, The Monkey, 14.2 million, with a worldwide of 14.2, and check this out. One of the cooler popcorn boxes I've seen.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, that's scary as fuck.
That's a bucket, not a box.
Hold on.
But
you want to see something that's even creepier?
Oh, it winds up and does things?
Oh, no.
I'm sad we missed this movie, by the way.
I was able to do it earlier, but it winds up and... Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, knock the mic over.
So did you just steal the popcorn bucket, or did you go see the movie, Grayson?
No, I didn't see it. I'm going to see it this week, but I did procure the popcorn bucket.
No,
he's got an insider guy now.
That's one that I am sad we missed. I was actually looking forward to maybe that one making rotation for us, but there's just too much happening right now with the Oscars being so close. So
speaking of so much missing, we had to miss it. Paddington and Peru, number 3, 6.5 million with a 150 worldwide. It's been kind of a slow weekend for movies. It's going to be less than 30 million less than 45 is the poll. Number 4, Dogman, Chris, you'll be happy to know 5.9 million. We're worldwide of 104. That you guys, I think, probably contributed like $15 or $20 to that number.
Yeah. With the renting or buying.
Yeah.
You're right.
Ninja 2, another 4.4 million for a worldwide total of 28. So that's done better than The Monkey, but the Monkey I don't think is worldwide. So. Gotcha. So that's done worldwide what Captain America did in 1 week. I just want to point that out. That's that's a fact.
Yeah, it's a Asian what is it? It's Chinese film, right?
I think it's animated.
I mean, movie, they have the top 2 or 3 movies of the year.
Yeah,
but money wise. So
6 through 10: Heart Eyes, Chava, Mufasa, The Lion King, The Unbreakable Boy, in One of Them Days. It's kind of a slow period right now. And I think
one day the Chinese film industry is going to legitimately level their sights at Hollywood and be like, we're going to do an English language set with an English cast, and we're going to fucking annihilate some numbers, and it's going to be like the paradigm shift in Hollywood. It's going to happen, and look, we are getting significantly closer to that happening.
Well, we are, but it's going to help. It's going to boost movie sales on this side, because I imagine there's a lot of people who enjoy that kind of stuff over here too, and I'm sure it's not too far removed from like DBZ movie going into. Like, I'm sure it's not too far removed from something like that.
What was the one that they just had, their animated thing that crossed the 1.6 billion or whatever?
Yeah, the one I'll find it.
Overtook Inside Out 2 for the.
Oh yeah, Chris, you're the one that brought it up. It was it was over 2 billion.
Yeah, I watched it.
Like, it's a ridiculous number. Like, good for them.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's only what's that phrase? A rising tide raises all ships, or something.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so.
I really do too.
Like, look, if it gets higher quality stuff, it'd be fucking awesome.
I would agree with
you,
that.
Netflix.
Always looking
directly at you, Netflix.
Chris, did you find what that movie is?
Yeah, I'm pulling up the title now.
That's the Ninja movie, right?
Yeah, Ninja.
No. Oh, the first one. Okay, the first Ninja.
Yeah, the first one.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Speaking of Chris, you have a movie recommendation.
I do. Also Chinese.
Why don't you hit us with it?
So, pulling from the same Chinese market, the movie I'm recommending this week is John Wick.
A movie very adjacent to Unbreakable Boy, I might
very, very much set
extremely
in the culture.
The Unbreakable Boy is in the John Wick universe. Just
so Grayson has this problem that I didn't pick something adjacent to the current movie we're going to discuss, but I'll let the people decide how much they are upset that the movie I'm recommending is probably one of the best action films we've seen in our lifetime.
I mean,
John Wick,
it really truly was a trend-setting film.
Where'd the glasses come from? Anyway, trend setting is right. It's actually its own subgenre setting, and John Wick is amazing. It's fantastic. If you haven't seen it, I don't know what you're doing. It's legendary at this point for a reason, and it's legendary status, and it hasn't been around that long.
Yeah,
the movie literally has its own play on what action and gunplay should be in a movie, to where now it's not only has its own connected universe with some things going on, movies where we're going to see here soon, but also it has its own subgenre of people trying to imitate the success that it's done. And I don't think that's a bad thing for films. John Wick has Keanu Reeves as at the helm. It's got great actors in side characters and just this underground world of just I don't know assassins and gunplay and kung fu. The whole movie, gun fu. The whole movie's fantastic. Watch this film if you haven't yet.
I agree.
Was that 2011? Was that the
14?
Oh my God, it's barely 11 years.
I think John Wick may have perfected like the action film.
Yeah,
I think with going into the late 90s, it was always close. I think John Wick may have pushed it closer to perfection. With it looks like you're watching poetry, but it doesn't look bad. It looks wonderful. It just you were talking, Chris, I had it on IMDb, and I'm watching. How they like if you're on a movie, they have the clip of like the trailer. I just watched a clip of him just like pop 3 dudes in the head without even like it's just yes, thank you. I'll take more of that, please. No. I also just saw the other night I was doing the shorts. And apparently, I think Keanu is trending because I saw that clip of the little boy who approached him and said he was his favorite character in Toy Story 4, and Duke Kaboom was awesome.
Duke Kaboom, hell yeah!
And John Wick was like super good to the boy, and the boy was just so excited to meet Keanu Reeves.
I've never heard a negative thing about Keanu Reeves
or Duke Kaboom
or Duke.
Sure, of course, that's also accurate statement.
Well, it just the film is the story strong. Not really, but this is one of the
don't kill somebody's fucking dog.
This is one of the exceptions to the rule of if what you're making you're passionate about and you do one or two things and you do them really well, you can make a movie that doesn't have a strong story for certain genres, and it's absolutely mind-blowingly good, and that's what John Wick is. And because of that, we've got John Wick 2, 3, 4, and again with Ballerina. Coming around the corner, we have some cool things happening there. I don't think they ever planned on going beyond 1. I think that this is just something
I don't think they did, honestly.
Yeah, this is something that's blown up, and now they're moving into the connected universe area, and it could be really cool. It could also, the whole connected universe thing could crash and burn.
Sure,
but a lot of things that you see in here.
Look at Marvel.
Well, yeah, but for a while that was a good thing. You know what I mean? So maybe when they get to John Wick.
So they got 27 movies.
Yeah, movie 24. They should go. Maybe we should close this thing.
Time to wrap it up.
Yeah. So
wait, which one ended with them in Central Park and like the courtyard? Was that the first one? Because whatever movie that one is, that definitely was sequel baying for another one.
No, that was 2. That was 2, right?
Okay. Yeah, I think so. Is Lawrence Fishburne's in one of them too? Is like the weird.
He's in a bunch of them.
He's in a few.
Yeah, it's like the weird pigeon dude that. Yeah.
Weird kinda pigeon dude.
Kind of like the pigeon lady from Home Alone. Remember, she'd always feed the
pigeon. Maybe. Oh my God! Stop! Oh my God!
He's already Jigsaw. Quit it.
Oh no!
I mean, there you go.
Son of a bitch! She's an assassin.
She's been watching over him the whole time.
Yes, indeed. That's a good pick. That's a damn good. It's a very easy movie to watch too. It's like if you watch the John Wicks and the what are the ones with Chris Hemsworth on Netflix? Extraction. Those are some damn fine action films.
Extraction fucking rules.
Extraction's a good one too.
Man, so good. Just excellent. All right, that's a good recommendation, Chris. Thank you for that.
I know.
Again, very Unbreakable Boy adjacent, as you will see when we talk about Unbreakable Boy. But first, let's pivot a little bit to talk about another one of this is the last Oscar film we're going to discuss, A Complete Unknown by director James Mangold. Let's talk about
black Ray-Bans to wear right now, by the way.
I wish you just smoked cigarettes right now.
Oh, fucking!
Don't get him started. It's bad enough.
I know.
Look, how much do you want to talk about cigarettes today? Yes or no?
I mean, so have you guys looked at the tomato meter and the popcorn meter for A Complete Unknown?
Nope. I haven't looked for either of our movies today.
81 and 96.
Is it that good?
So Roger, Chris, as I understand, you didn't get a chance to catch it, right?
No. I'm not even kidding here. This isn't a joke. Roger had to go out of state to see this film.
I did.
I did not do that. So yeah,
that was just by dumb luck. I happened to be going out of state anyway. But
gotcha.
That is where I viewed this film.
What did you think, Rod? Like, do you think the movie you watched merits those numbers, 81 and 96?
I mean, yeah. So like, this movie's really good. It's up for a bunch of awards or whatever. For Best Picture, Timothée Chalamet is excellent. It deserves it, sure. Like, look, do I think this is better than some stuff that I know is currently up for an Oscar? No. Not necessarily, but like, look, it's ballpark, And like anytime I'm talking where stuff is like in the realm for Best Picture, I'm happy to go into it. And like this one, I like this movie. It's a little bit longer than it probably needed to be, and for some reason, and I know it's weird that I'm going to complain about this. There are some points in this movie, in a movie about singing and has a lot of like vocal stuff in it. It gets extremely loud in some situations where like they're doing the stuff on stage, and it's like kind of jarring.
Yeah,
how it goes about. That's the only real negative I have about it. I mean,
my watch went off a couple times. Telling
Bob Dylan is kind of an asshole, but like apparently that's on like true to script. He's kind of an asshole.
Well, I mean,
so yeah,
genius tends to be like kind of void of like other people's skills too, and he kind of doesn't have those a lot of times.
That's weird. I have people's skills. What are you talking
about? So you're self-insinuating you're a genius. Nice, good job.
No, he's not a genius.
Ish is what he's saying.
Now I'm confused.
No, well, Chris was saying he's a genius and he has good people skills. Unless, Roger, you were then saying that Chris.
I'm saying because he has good people skills, that therefore he cannot be a genius.
Yeah, well,
hey.
But Chris wasn't saying that. Chris was saying he had both.
That's, that's something an idiot would say.
God damn.
All right, fair.
Only an idiot puts himself into that kind of box.
God damn it.
Speaking of idiots, this had nothing to do. A complete unknown. The Metacritic is a 70, which I think is the bare minimum for being considered for an Oscar. Bare minimum.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Well, I'm sorry, being considered for like Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Script. Like Transformers, they won Best Visual. Whatever Metacritic is fine. But I think 70 is the bare minimum to be nominated for some of the big boy awards. Absolutely.
I am a genius. You're right.
Oh my goodness! I knew that was going to come.
It's kind of nice, right? His lights are fucking bright in here.
They are.
Jeez Louise, what is going on?
This is what we suffer through for the people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing. So Timothée Chalamet is
incredible.
As I was watching this,
he is in everything he's ever done.
As I was watching this, I was just thinking to myself, Timothée Chalamet. He's just on a different level, man. He's just on a different level than almost everyone else that we've known.
You think so?
Yes, I really do. That's the thing. Well, I mean, I think in order to not think so, I think you'd have to someone tried to convince you, or you may have read something. I'm not saying he did. I'm just saying, like, to watch a performance of his and not think it means that someone tried to sway you, or someone's giving you a compelling argument as to why. At least that's in my point of view. Because like watching him in almost everything he's been in, I'm like, fuck, he's the best thing in the movie. Like by far, he's the best thing in the movie. Yeah, and it's very true here too. Surrounded by a litany of other phenomenal actors and actresses, he just steals the show whenever he's on screen. The camera is drawn to him like moths to a flame.
Well, and one other thing to talk about with him, especially for this movie, is he sang the songs. And he learned some of the instrumental stuff so he could make it authentic, which, like, look, not everybody can sing, and that's nothing against him, but like he does a pretty good job here of making it believable. And like that's a credit, to being talented and overall, like good for him.
I would agree with that. Real quick, some of the cast: Timothée Chalamet, Edward Norton, Elle Fanning, Monica Barbaro, Nick Offerman, Boyd Holbrook. That's a damn good cast, man. Directed by James Mangold, who gave us what, Chris? One of your favorite films?
Yes, I will be taking no questions at this time.
Logan, he gave us Logan as well. Mangold makes pretty easy pick and chooses for I think what he wants to do. Sure. I'd like to think that Mangold's probably a big Bob Dylan fan too. I think you'd almost have to be considered as a director for this film. Don't you think?
I mean, I think anytime you tackle a biopic, you have to maybe you don't have to be the biggest fan, but you need to be very familiar with it, because those do not necessarily correlate with each other. Because like, look, you can think I'm going to make this movie because I think this guy's a dick. You can do that. Now, I don't believe that's the case here, but you certainly could make an argument that could be done.
I agree. Yeah. So I can, and with the way the subject matter is handled, with the way that Chalamet is shot, I was thinking this. I was watching it. It's like he really does. He just has this way with the camera. He has a visual kind of conversation with the camera, and directors worth their salt. They know that. with Chalamet, with another very recent Denis Villeneuve is for Dune. It's like they know what they have with Timothée Chalamet. They absolutely know what they have, and there's that movie, A Beautiful Boy. I think I'm going to revisit that soon too. With
that's a tough watch, man.
Steve Carell and Timothée Chalamet. Timothée Chalamet is his drug addicted son. He's trying to get him. Again, it's like watching poetry, and I don't say that often. I mean, John Wick, I did, but again, John Wick is one of those exceptions. But I do think Chalamet is Chalamet's amazing. Do you think he smoked real cigarettes for this, Roger? You think those are real?
Look, if he did 800 cigarettes, he smoked.
You do get bumps for smoking cigarettes, and cast gets bumps for being on set while there is a cigarette smoked. They get little like $5, $10 bumps for that too.
What is a bump?
Like a $5 increase in their
it's
daily.
Like a spiff.
Yeah.
Every time somebody fucking rips. I mean, like, look, at one point he's smoking 2 cigarettes at the same time.
I think hold on. You have to be within. You have to be within like a certain like feet distance. You can't just.
Hold on. So he got paid extra and got to look cool.
I don't think Chalamet
got to fucking smoke, bro.
I think the people around him got like the extras and stuff around him may have got this. He didn't get the smoking bump.
The triple threat. He got the triple threat. God damn.
He gets to sing. He gets to be the star, and he gets to rip cigarettes for money. God damn it! Like, look, they smoke a significant amount of cigarettes in this movie, which is very era correct, by the way. Late, mid to late 60s.
Yeah, it's so does Johnny Cash, and I like when he's like, "Hey Johnny, you got some cigarettes?" And Johnny just pulls.
He's drunk as hell and just puts the whole pack on him. He's like, "Here, bud."
Was this back in the era when like doctors would like smoke in exam rooms?
Oh, for sure, bro. Listen, dude, listen. You could smoke in the hospital in France until like 6 years ago. That's not a fucking joke.
Are you serious? Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's France. That's not us. But,
you're right.
There was a time, like maybe like early 2000s, when that became like a. When did all the buildings like start? No, you can't smoke around buildings anymore. Like
it was like around buildings was like later on than what you think it is, but like inside. Was
okay.
Like, because legitimately, all jokes aside, I remember walking around like the mall as a little kid, and like we had a Kmart in our mall. Like there were ashtrays at the end of every couple of aisles for people to put their cigarettes out in.
Yep.
Like it was completely normal to stand in line while somebody's ringing your shit up for you to like whip out a lighter and like light a cigarette right there.
Could you imagine?
Yeah, because like in my job right now, I can imagine like sitting there talking to somebody like working on stuff and be like, "You mind if I smoke?" Be like, "No, go ahead." And then I'll pull out one of my own, and we both sit there smoking cigarettes.
Jesus,
God, that'd be awesome.
You knew it was over for smoking indoors when Golden Corral took away their smoker section, and that was it.
I remember the last bastion of the South.
That Ponderosa, like once that happened, everything collapses. Yeah. So,
like, there are legitimately kids alive that are old enough to drink that like have never been asked the question smoking or non-smoking section in a restaurant. Like,
well, I mean, like there are too many people in this world who have never come home of a long night of drinking and just reek of cigarettes. Like, I have long hair again. Like so even back before I smoked for a while. Like I would go out to a bar all night and everybody smoked at the bar. Like there wasn't a smoking section. It was the bar and you smoked there. So like, even if you didn't smoke, like you had to go take a shower when you got home because your hair reeked of cigarettes.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember
that's not
days.
even
sounds like awesome. Sounds like my family's Thanksgiving, but whatever.
I mean, still can be if you try hard enough. New traditions every year, Chris.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Going back to cigarettes, baby.
Jesus.
Bringing it back.
Where are we even at? What are we doing?
We're talking about smoking in the
60s. We're talking about cigarettes for as much time as they are on screen here, which is going to be 2 hours and 12 minutes.
He said he was getting his 12-minute segment. Here we are.
I didn't even start this, so my clock isn't even running.
So let's talk about because I guess this isn't we're just discussing like why we think this is on a list. And I never thought I'd have to ask the question, does this movie deserve to be on the list? Except the last couple of years, I think, has really prompted that question in a lot of people's mind. So, I mean, for me, it's an easy answer. Yes, this definitely deserves to be in the conversation for best picture, best script, whatever, best cinematography, whatever. I'm perfectly willing to do that. But it's like, it's not as good as Conclave. It's not as good as Dune 2. It's not as good as a couple others. But
I don't think it's as good as Anora.
No, I don't think so either. But it's still right up there within a few points of those. So I mean, it's in the conversation.
It's one of those, like, if there was a Hall of Fame, this would be like just misses the cut on the vote. Like it's good. Like it truly is good from start to finish. And like the only reason I think somebody wouldn't like this movie is if for whatever reason you decided to watch the Bob Dylan biopic and like I don't know what Bob Dylan sounds like when he sings.
Yeah.
Like that's the only thing I would say for somebody to be like, well, do you like Bob Dylan? And if they'd be like, no, I'd be like, well, then maybe this movie's not for you because that's how the world works sometimes.
Well, but it's like, but you're not going to go into a Bob Dylan biopic if you don't know who, or if you don't like Bob Dylan. Maybe you don't know who he is, I could see, but like if you don't like him, you're not going to want to watch a biopic about a 2 hour and 20-minute
like
biopic.
The only thing I want to do is go through the Rotten Tomatoes review until I find one that says, be like, this guy can't sing, and be like, no, he's doing a pretty good job of like actually sounding like Bob Dylan.
Imagine being that guy on Rotten Tomatoes, leaving your review that says stupid ass movie about some guy named Bob Dylan. You know what I mean? Like I thought this was gonna be completely different.
Some guy, which is a devastating insult, by the way.
Yeah, well, for him it is, but he's in that.
No, for anybody,
he's in that magical period of like. There was so much going on in the country in the late 50s, 60s, civil rights movements, and there's so many people coming up in we had so many artists today that are so famous that were like young at that time that like that was a magical time for music for like people that are coming up and making their own, especially in New York, and that was before New York got like really like awful in the 80s and the early 90s, and it's just it's a really magical time, especially in the US. The 60s, what's going on in this country too. It's kind of allowed for a lot of that stuff to happen. Those kind of like does that folk festival still going? I didn't even check. Is that still a thing? That folk
no idea. I mean, just talk about time frame of this movie is one of the biggest points of this film takes place legitimately on the night of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Mm-hmm. Like that's a really big deal here. So
well, they mentioned it several times.
I mean, like they legitimately, him and Joan Baez end up together for the first time that night because they think the world's going to end. You know what I mean? And like they wake up the next morning and like the garbage man's throwing the stuff in a dumpster and people are honking each other, yelling at each other on the streets like every other day.
It's normal.
And that's also when he tells the lady he just slept with that her music reminds him of an oil painting at a dentist. Like she won't fucking kill you for saying things like that, which is like, bro.
I'm glad you bring up the Joan Baez thing, is because I didn't. Mm-hmm. Again, I don't, outside of Dylan and his music, I don't really know much about his life. And that's probably less than I should for someone my age. But it's. I mean, Bob Dylan's a fairly important person in music history for the U.S. He's a fairly important person, so I just don't know much about him. But I did really appreciate how this story was. Again, if you're dramatizing someone's life, you've got to pick and choose what elements you really highlight, which you kind of maybe bring up but don't highlight. Sure. I really like the Sylvie Rousseau, Joan Baez, and Bob Dylan kind of like triangle between the three, and I like Monica Barbaro. I really like Elle Fanning, and I think they make kind of a wonderful triangle in that way. It's like Bob is as famous as, or really becoming famous. He's got these two women that he continually, and others, by the way, but these are the two main ones. And then you have the Ed Norton, Pete Seeger, that also like what a wonderful character, what a wonderful way Ed Norton played Pete Seeger. It's like I don't know like any specifics of that guy's life outside of his name, but I love how Ed Norton played him too. And it was the other guy, Woody Guthrie. Yeah, it's like all these guys. Scoot McNairy. Yeah, I like all these guys and how they all kind of come into play. And I think, Chris, to top all my comment off, I think a phrase you've said in the past, especially with these Oscar episodes we're doing, is it's got a lot of old Hollywood check marks in this film too. With like it certainly speaks the language of like what I would call like the late 80s, 90s, 2000s, checks all those boxes for like, yep, best picture quality, like, yep, best script, like it checks all those boxes.
You say that though, like almost like it's a negative aspect, and I don't think you mean that, but like I could see somebody be like, well, that's not a good thing. But here's the thing, it is a good thing. It's because when you make a quality movie with quality actors and actresses, you generally get, when there's combine it with a good story, you generally get good results. And that's not always the case anymore, unfortunately. And this movie is that. Like, look, it's not the best of the best. Is it good enough to be in the talk for best of the year? Sure. I don't have a problem with that, but like, I'd be surprised if it really takes home any serious hardware.
No.
But like, I wouldn't at all be surprised if Chalamet wins for his portrayal of Bob Dylan here. Like, I'd have absolutely no problem with that. I would have more of a problem if the movie won like Best Picture. Like that is something I wouldn't be able to be like, well, okay, I don't feel that, but like, I could absolutely see Chalamet here because, like, again, as we've already alluded to, he's fucking great. And, until he does something that's not fucking great, I'm just going to assume if he's in it, it's going to be of higher quality.
So stepping away from the Oscar talk on it for a second, what makes this movie better than like the Bob Marley biopic?
So the one thing I will bring up about that is with the Bob Marley biopic, One Love, is they gloss over a significant amount of the stuff for Bob Marley, like the negative side of it.
Okay.
Where they don't really do that with old Bob here. Like I mentioned before, and I know I joked about it with you guys, is they don't portray Bob in some sort of light if he's like some sort of like folk hero superhero, like folk singing superhero, because like a lot of people look at Bob Dylan like that. They look at Bob Dylan as like a real person, and he's kind of a dickhead to a lot of people, and like they call him out for being a fucking dickhead. And sometimes in movies they take a movie about a big star and like, oh, everything's got to be shiny and good, and I'm glad that they don't do that here, because like we have seen better movies than this that are in the similar vein of like Rocket Man and Bohemian Rhapsody. Both, you see the bad side of these people that are like legendary, musicians, and you tend to get better versions of the story for that. And like One Love in itself had some real problems, but
okay. Well, but I mean, I guess that was kind of like the nature of my question is, with a movie like One Love, where it wasn't as well received, but it's not the same thing, obviously, but similar vein, similar, it's a biopic kind of deal about a music artist, that has another storyline underneath of it, but no, that one didn't get as well received as this one has, obviously, for it to have Oscar talk and discussion going on about it. So I was curious onto what makes it, different from the other biopic, music biopic.
I mean, the one thing that happens about biopics too sometimes is people look at things from a light that they shouldn't have, where they try to make sure everything is as positive as possible. And like, look, that's not how real people are, especially for some of those type of folks.
There was something recently where we talked about, I remember the criticism was they did a lot of the good and none of the bad. I can't remember what it was, but it was a biopic of some sort. I can't remember what that was. But I think that was one of the major criticisms we had, was it was all the good stuff of the guy's life, none of the bad.
That was Reagan. We talked about Reagan.
Okay.
There was a lot of stuff we glossed over for old Mr. Reagan.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're not going to go back there, but I assure you that movie spins a lot of things into a positive light. A lot of things.
You only have so many minutes in a movie to tell a story, and like again, you have to take the good and the bad.
You have to pick the story that you want to tell, and make sure that the story that you want is what is put onto the screen. And I get that, because like, look, again, when you have a movie of any type, especially a biopic, if you have too many hands, trying to do that cooking, like it's a bad thing. Like if you have a story that you want to tell about something specifically and it's your movie and you got the chance to do it, go ahead. But like things when you gloss over stuff or leave stuff out entirely, just, be prepared for the blowback.
I agree.
And when somebody goes to be like, well, he did legitimately lead to the death of 31 hostages, things like that. Maybe I'm talking about Reagan again. Just maybe not. Hypothetically,
I was like, did I fall asleep in a complete unknown?
Yeah,
did
that happened. Bob Dylan directly led to the.
What the hell? Did I miss the hostage situation?
Oh my god.
That's interesting. And one of the last things I wanted to ask you, Roger, is like, so this is obviously it's a biopic, but I actually didn't mind, because I like Bob Dylan's music. And again, chances are if you're watching a Bob Dylan biopic, if you paid to go in there on like a Friday night with a buddy or whoever, chances are you would like to hear a lot of those songs. Like we did hear a lot of it in their entirety, which was great, because he has a lot of very legendary songs, and he did some of them in this film too. So like, I don't mind all those very, like, there's probably a combined, I don't know, maybe like 25 minutes in just songs.
Sure.
Like literally in a 2 hour and 20 minutes, I would think that might be a consideration for a studio. Like, well, maybe we cut some of those out, maybe we don't. But I didn't have a problem with that at all. As a matter of fact, it didn't seem quite that long when I was listening to them.
No, this movie is paced pretty well. But I mean, it doesn't exactly go over a super long period of time. It only goes through like 3 or 4 years. So, it's nice to have things spaced out because, like the Newport Folk Festival, which is the festival Grayson alluded to earlier, plays an integral part of this movie. Like they go back to that same festival 2 or 3 times. I think 3 times. And each one having different parts of junctures of Bob Dylan's career. So,
but I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I've seen it. So the only movie I haven't seen now of the Oscars is The Brutalist, and I'm gonna try to get to that this week.
The Brutalist is available on streaming.
It is
there.
It's also a 3 hour and 25
3 hours and 19 minutes.
That's a long time, man.
Would you say that's
brutal? Wow, I knew. As soon as you said, "Would you?" I'm like, oh man, there's that dad humor. Thank you. I don't know what's going on with the glasses, guys. I gotta say, it's pretty sweet though.
Yeah,
I just looked at the camera and I saw
one time. Get a pair of fucking aviators.
I have them. I'll go grab them. You want me to go grab them so we can all kind of switch off wearing them?
I mean, I'm not going to stop the show, so if you do it, we're just going to talk about whatever you want while we're going. Well, actually, you know what? I got 12 minutes about cigarettes ready to go. So,
all right, you can like 9.5 of that.
I'm going to give you 30 seconds of cigarettes. Go.
So, here's the one thing about this movie, all jokes aside, is I smoked a lot. Like, a lot. I couldn't imagine, smoking that many cigarettes and be like, you know what I'm going to go do? Sing at a concert. It's so much. So much. Oh, he's back already. Oh, he's back.
This is what we're doing?
I guess, man. But Chris has them on now.
Look, so look what I've done.
Only one of us can have them on at a time. Anyway.
That's not true. We can just all have
them. I really liked A Great Unknown. I just don't think it's anywhere near Dune. I don't think it's anywhere near Conclave. And I guess the other important marker is it's better than Amelia Perez. Like light years better than Amelia Perez. I think anyway. But that's just me. I know I'm not making the votes, unfortunately, but I'm again, all these markers are like Amelia Perez adjacent because that's the one that's going to be upsetting if it wins everything because it doesn't deserve any of it and it might win all of them.
I just had a really good idea about our Oscar pre-show stuff.
What's that?
Well, I'll tell you. It's not pertinent for right now.
Understood.
It is Oscar adjacent though.
All right, I like it.
Fair enough. All right, boys. It's time, as we all now have aviators on. Chris has the America ones on. There you go, baby.
America.
Yeah. Let's talk about the movie of the week, The Unbreakable
Aviators.
Boy. Yes. Top Gun Maverick.
Top Gun, right? Yeah.
That's right, baby. All right, let's
start ripping Danger Zone in the background.
Let's talk
about.
I
think the Oscar episode opens up with us talking about.
That's
Top
right,
Gun.
Danger Zone.
Just to show the proper tribute to the film.
All right, Unbreakable
Best
Boy.
Movie that never got nominated.
So you guys have seen Unbreakable
X-Men.
Boy. So you guys saw Unbreakable Boy, yes, both of you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So what do you?
Turns out, kid is very breakable.
Would you? Well, not in spirit, which is what is important here, but. So the tomato meter of 48, and the audience, and the you guys know what the popcorn meter is?
I bet it's fucking huge, like
Chris?
90.
Chris, you want to take a stab?
I'm gonna say it's a 98.
It's a 95. 95. See, here's the thing
about
Price
is Right rules you went over, therefore are disqualified.
Whatever. Yeah, I mean he's not wrong.
3 points to your 5 points, sir.
However, the Metacritic
one over's out.
God damn it.
KO'd.
Anyway,
Metacritic
35. 35.
Oh, 35. Oh, that stinks.
But here's the thing about the Metacritic. Here's the thing. Hear me out. This is one of those movies that if you judge a movie, if you judge your alleged viewing that you might do based on Metacritic numbers or low score on Rotten Tomatoes, I think you're missing out. This is one of the Erwin Brothers Kingdom films. Then it's got Zachary Levi. I think they've worked with him before. What was the movie he did where he was the player on the LA Rams? Was that
Shazam 2?
No, he was not a football player in Shazam 2. What was
he was
that?
a superhero though? God damn it!
That was the Kurt Warner movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I remember legitimately, I liked that movie.
That's a good movie.
That was a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty decent.
Not Shazam. Shazam is bad.
Well, Shazam 2 is really
I like
Shazam 2 is bad.
I like Shazam. I don't like
Shazam 1. It's okay. It's okay.
Are we all doing aviators still? All right. No, we got.
No, just
I don't
you.
know what you're talking
It's
about.
just you, man. What are you doing?
I'm gonna keep them on. Screw you guys. Okay. Let's.
There are no rules here. Lawless wasteland.
So I don't. No, I'm gonna take them off. I look ridiculous. I look. We get
so self-conscious.
He's actually stressed out about it.
Wait, they took their aviators off.
God damn it!
All right. So, do you agree with those numbers now after seeing the film? I do not.
Well, so okay, I don't mean to like be contentious here, but like, what do you mean? Do I agree with those numbers?
Well, the
like
48 and the 90. I agree with the 90. I'm
It's
not sure I agree with the
like,
40.
look, I understand why. If you have an idea of what Breakable Boy is and what it's about, if you would go, you would find this movie at least enjoyable. Okay. If you had no idea what this movie was about, I can absolutely see why people think that there are some problems with this film. So like I'm okay. Like I know it's like a cop out, but I'm okay with both these sets of numbers. Like, you know, it's an okay movie. I don't think it's ever much more than that. I mean, I have some issues with it that I'll bring up to you guys here in a little bit, but it's never overly like, wow, this is the best movie I've ever seen.
I agree.
And at no point is it be like, well, this shit's terrible. So like that's kind of
well. Here's the thing: is I think with a movie with a kid with autism, it's a tough draw anyway. Because I'm not going to read them because it's just going to piss me off. So I'm not going to read them. But I've read a lot of those reviews are like, autism is a serious thing, and this movie doesn't do it justice. Negative score. It's like, again, you missed the what? What do you? When what world is that a legitimate? Is that a legitimate criticism that you can give this movie a negative score? It's not a reason. That's why I hate the internet. It's why I hate anyone's allowed to just post whatever they want.
No, we already discussed about how there should be tests for what you get to get
yeah.
to vote on.
Nor should you listen to three assholes on the internet. Just saying. However, so
they should listen to me. I've decided that.
So let's do the thumbs up,
now
thumbs
the voice
down
of the people.
Let's do the thumbs up, thumbs down for this.
Okay.
I think we might be surprised where we sit. So, Chris, count us in.
I'll count us in. So 3, 2, 1.
Roger, you're the only thumbs down. All right.
That's okay.
Defend yourself.
Defend myself? Oh, don't worry. The real question is, tell me why this movie's good. Because I can refute most of it.
Well, I mean, I think you can make an argument against anything if you really want to. But
sure.
Okay. So, legitimately, I thought this film was fantastic.
Cool.
Good. I liked most of my viewing here. Like, I can see where people can draw issue with the fact that the movie it can be predictable at times. But other than the predictability, I have no problem with any of the acting in it. And you have two child actors, which that's almost always a recipe. Every time you add another child actor, you substantially increase the chances that your film is going to have bad acting in it or bad scenes because of it. Right? We have two child actors that are mainlined. We have multiple. We have a school system that's in play, and then with some side stories going on, and there's no bad acting in this film that I could catch. There are real situations that people are put into. Both your leading roles. I do feel like that there was actual chemistry and good back and forth there from the people that are on screen, and I do feel like that the characters in the film legitimately cared about the people around them and that the story's about. At no point did I watch this film and think, that could have been done better, or that didn't seem like it could actually happen. So like the believability scale of this is fine. The subject matter is, I think, it isn't something that they glossed over in any way, shape, or form generally for all the different sections, and I do think that from a movie making standpoint, I don't have a problem with this film.
That's good.
So like I legitimately don't know where the issues would lie for it to have such low like a Metacritic. Like what did they want from this film to give this? Like, what brings us to a 40? What brings us to a 50? In comparison to other movies that I've seen recently that are supposed to be Oscar worthy. Like drawing that direct comparison, but even not just your average film. Again, what did this thing have to do to make it 50 instead of what is it, 30 or something like that? You just said
35 is the Metacritic.
Okay, it was still, I think the movie's better than that.
Yeah, I agree. Regard. And one thing I want to say is because maybe you're a genius for bringing up John Wick. I don't know, but it made me think of this one question is. You're not like, you know what, I want to go into John Wick for a riveting story. And when you come out of here, you're like, I'm so upset I didn't get a story, F-. So upset. Just like this one. You don't you go into this, you don't stumble in the Unbreakable Boy. If you do stumble into it, you've missed a lot in the way. You've missed the trailer, you've missed the poster, you've missed hearing anything from anyone, and that's pretty rare these days. But chances are, if you're in the Unbreakable Boy, you know what you're going into, and you're there, you're willingly going along for the ride, which means you're willingly signing up for what you know is going to be an emotional film. What you know, there is, I guess the 10-second description is, this is a story that centers around a family that it is struggling along, and one of the children has autism, and I forget the term, but it's OI, where the bones break very, very easily.
It's a story of a family with a special needs child.
Yeah, so that's, but like, if you're going into that, you know what you're going into. So I'm really glad you guys both caught this, because you guys both dads. And I mean, it's like, no matter what kind of child, there's always going to be, there's learning curve for everyone involved. And you guys have a unique compared to mine, outlook on this. And I don't have kids. I'm very much involved with my friends' kids, but it's not my own. So, but you guys have that parenting perspective that I don't have. So I was hoping to get some of your insight into that as well.
One of the things that I actually consider negative of this movie is they really do play on the parental heartstrings here, and it's okay to do that. Like, I'm not saying that that's the bad thing. I feel like in a couple times they do it in like such a cheap way. It kind of like dulls it out, because like this family, for however much of this is true, and like, look, I haven't done any research on it, so I'm not going to try to say that I'm an expert on this family or whatever. But like, if a lot of this stuff played out at least similar to the way that it does on screen, like, there's a lot of forgiveness in this family that, like, I don't know that a lot of like normal families have that kind of pool to fix. Maybe that's just how I look at things from a slightly more negative perspective. But like, there's a point in this movie, and this kicks off super early, of this man who is clearly heavily intoxicated, puts his kids in the back of a car. Okay. And like, then we stop and we go like an hour of movie-ish, right? Sound about right? Before we get back to New Year's, right? And then, like the movie flows fairly well, but like that's how long it takes back, because like we know that something terrible was happening like at that time.
Yeah.
So the way that this family moves through things just feels a little bit different than how I guess I would ever look at things. But that's not necessarily a knock on the movie. That's one of the things that I feel like they artificially set it to be like, just be like, oh my god.
Well, so movie discussion wise though,
sure,
not like disagreeing with you for the point of argument, but like, they don't pull that out of nowhere though. So like, I feel like it's in line with the characters and the story we're given, right? So all along the way, we see from her perspective and her side about the way she feels about marriage and love and who she's with, and the fact and the fact that their parents together and all this other stuff. And then we also see from him that he does try, and that he is that he's always thinking about the family and sacrifice and all this. So it's like I feel like I would agree with you more if there was nothing that's setting up that. And in all honesty, it's the one thing that she brings up that she really does have a problem with. And because it's a movie, it's brought up very suddenly as a pain point, right? It's very extreme, where like, they don't have a conversation about this that they showed. He wakes up and she's dumping out the wine, right? So it's like, maybe this could have been a conversation too first, and then it got to that point, but they might have had that.
Well, one of that, thanks, because that's something I actually want to talk about, right? So one of the main cruxes of this film is the fact that old dad has got a drinking problem. Okay. But like,
she thinks the problem.
Well, you can tell, like, throughout this film, like, they make it a focal point to be like, dad does drink a lot. Okay. And like, look, that's a very real thing that happens every day across this country. And I'm not shaming anybody for how much you drink or whatever.
It's okay, buddy. We still love you.
It's okay. But like, what happens in this movie, and one of the problems that I have with this, right, is not necessarily the fact that, assuming some of this stuff could have happened off screen. That's fine. You can give him the benefit of the doubt, right? So like, he has made bad decisions in his life when it comes to alcohol. Okay. But now I can only go off by what they show us on the screen. They have never once, or that character had never once ever made that kind of decision when it was just him and driving with the children. Okay. Now I understand like things do happen.
Yeah.
But like, look, they show that when dad was stressed, what dad did was drink. Okay. Which is an unfortunate side, thing of alcoholism. It does happen.
Yeah.
We had never once seen him be completely reckless around his children. And like, we see that go from like, oh, you know what? He's got a champagne glass to he's fucking hammered, yelling at himself in a mirror for at the point we think is himself.
Yeah.
In the mirror, to drunk driving his kids home. Now, maybe that's unfair for me to judge the movie slightly off of that, but like, that's a pretty big ramp up from what we had seen to that, once the reset happens to get back to that. Now, like, look, she does something well within her rights. She throws his ass out because fuck
100%.
yeah, you got to go, bro.
Yeah.
You can't be doing shit like that.
Yeah.
But like, that's one of the issues that I have with this movie. The other issue that I have, right, is because this does focus on a family with special needs. And this is a big point for me for this movie. Is okay, he loses his job. Okay. Does he ever get another job? And this isn't a joke.
No, yeah.
Does he ever get another job?
It's unclear.
Okay.
Actually.
To my point is, he gets thrown out of his house, ends up in Alcoholics Anonymous, which is something I'll come back to because I think they do a very good job of portraying that in this movie. And we never see him ever go back to work. Okay. And I'm not saying like this isn't stuff that could be happening off screen, of course, but like they are struggling with money at a point in this movie, right? Because he loses his job. They're forced to downsize, move closer back to his parents. They make the best of what's a tough situation, right?
Yeah.
I assume at some point after he lost his job and they got foreclosed on that he got another job.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. But then, he gets thrown out of his house and we never talk about money again. We never talk about any of that stuff anymore. It's like, I looked at my wife at like 3/4 part of the movie. Like, what are they doing for money? Because like, look, I have a special needs kid. I don't think I've ever brought that up here on the show. Money fucking matters a lot. And you know what matters more than money? Insurance.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is, right?
They have shit insurance too, by the way.
Yeah. What does she do for money? No, they make it a point after a while that she's a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's
what are we dealing with here?
Yeah,
I think this is an unrealistic portrayal of that kind of stuff.
But aren't they always unrealistic? I mean, isn't every daytime show? No one ever fucking works, and everyone.
No. That's not the point that I'm making. That's not the point I'm trying to make. Because like they make it a point in this movie to show you that they are struggling financially.
So what?
To the point that they have to move out of their foreclosed home, and then never talk about money again. Like. That's just weird to me.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you: is this movie better if they include those details?
I don't know if it's better, but I think like I can't give it the benefit of the doubt for that. Though.
Okay. I'm with Roger on this one. I was wondering too
because like it's not something I thought about in retrospect. Like come back, like how to do it. Like I thought about it during everything that's going on. Like
help me out here. If a home is foreclosed, which theirs was, and we like literally saw the sign in their yard. What does that
foreclosed? Mean? So foreclosed means the bank has repossessed their home.
Like
that means they're not selling it, but they're not getting any money for it.
So they don't get the value. So I thought for a while, well, they got the value for that townhouse and they moved in that worse. Nope. Like they have some money, but like that's not it because foreclosure means you get nothing because you defaulted on your loan.
Legitimately, they send a letter to you that says you have 30 days to get out of this house, and you go from there. But like I'm okay with them kind of glossing over that because like look. That's boring stuff for TV. But like the thing that I brought on to this, right, is when we circle back to the money thing is like, so he ends up in AA. Okay. And like I said, I mentioned this, like they do a really nice job in this movie because this is a faith-based movie, at least in small part. You're like, look, it's not heavy handed or anything.
No, it's not. It's not at all actually. Yeah.
No, like very, very little, but like they show that he ends up in Alcoholics Anonymous, which is a faith-based alcoholic recovery program. Okay. and they do a pretty good portrayal of it, going through the steps and things, and they make sure that the point where he is sober for like 55, they actually say like 60 days, okay, but they make it a point that he's going to meetings, sometimes twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I would assume that if he's going to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, he's also not going to work.
Yeah, it's never brought up again. But again, I think the movie kind of, while I can make it, I award it points for negativity on that. I award it like negative points for that, but not enough, I think, to ruin the experience of the movie, because the movie doesn't. I know what you're saying. The movie goes out of its way to show you that they're having incredible financial struggles, and I get you on that. But again, it's not. I don't fault the movie as much as you have, I guess, for
that's okay.
not doubling down, because the story then becomes, how do they recover as a family rather than how do they recover financially? And like, I think in the story pivots away from the financial. Now your question is then why include it at all? I mean,
well, not at all, because like, look, I understand that you can actually make a thing, be like, hey man, you lost your job, we got to downsize, and we end up moving closer back home to the parents. Like, you can have something like that happen, but again, I have no reason to assume that something similar to this, didn't actually take place. So maybe they try to keep it as script accurate as possible. But the other thing that I wanted to bring up that's a negative, or to me, is like, so this movie is a story of Austin, right? Or Oz, right?
Aussie man.
So most of this movie is about his parents, and I have no problem with that side of it, right? Like, we skip a large chunk of this kid's life, like in rapid succession, and I guess I expected more of the kid's story than the parent's story, because like, I get it, it's a family story, I get that, but like, we see the kid, have his moments at school, but like very little of that, besides when he gets on the rant of doing the born on the 4th of July, you can't handle the truth montage, and ends up have to be drugged to the resource room. Like, we very rarely see like the negative side of him being in school. And like, one of the problems, or like one of the biggest things with children with special needs, is having them be in a typical classroom and try not to, one, distract the other children, and be able to maintain a pace that is effective for that child. We very rarely see that be a negative thing here. And then the part we get with the child, with Oz, is when his medication needs adjusted, so much so like he ends up having to be into like a 4-day like lockdown because he has tried to choke his little brother. Like, we at no point had seen anything like remotely related to that kind of stuff go on, and like, that's something for me, because like, I get a unique perspective on that. Like, that suddenly just doesn't manifest itself full blown one day. There are little pieces of that puzzle, and everything lines up before like the big eruption. Like, you never start at the volcano exploding. And like, they gloss over a ton of that. And like, look, that's me from having a higher level perspective of this stuff. Knowing like there's a lot more stuff that goes into that, but like, overall, they do a decent job of portraying his version of his spectral disorder. So that's okay.
So I mean, like, so from your perspective, then, is the movie failing for you from that, like, that special needs perspective? Then is what it is, because because
it definitely does fail from that perspective.
Okay,
but it's hard. Like I said a second ago, it's hard to get that stuff on the screen and make it like very impactful, especially if you want a movie that's like a family movie.
So
you understand what I meant?
Yes, right? Well, because what I was going to say to that is that I feel like this is a movie about the family and not just the boy, even though it's titled The Unbreakable Boy and all this other stuff. But like, I believe that the movie is telling each person's like miniature story, and some more than others, obviously, but like all 4 family members get time in this movie for their own thing to be going on, like including the younger brother.
Well, I was going to talk about him in a minute. Go ahead.
I gotcha. But like including the younger brother, mom, dad, and Oz, like, they all get their time and like their thing that they're like navigating through or around or overcoming, and sometimes it's more than others, but like, and I think I feel like the film does a good job with that. And I don't know, like, my enjoyment from the film came from the fact that I did feel like like these were real moments for these parents, and maybe it's because like I see a little bit of my youngest, in Oz.
Sure.
So they're like, me and my wife have had these conversations about like our concern here, or our thoughts about this, or like her, my youngest, like small little jabs against against her older sibling, and like what that could mean and what we need to watch out for, like
Sure.
all this kind of stuff, right? So like I felt like weirdly connected to all of these things, and maybe it's because of like the way that those moments felt so authentic to me. But conversely, for you felt some inauthenticity.
I do get some
from the direct, special needs side of it, and like and the movie about Oz's situation, and like what the story is telling there. I can see the fact that like we and you could watch the same film, and generally we think along the same line or in the same ballpark about films.
Sure.
But like walk away with completely different opinions on the movie.
And that's okay. Like we're supposed to have different movies are supposed to elicit reactions.
Agreed. But I think that's important because again, like my original thought was I don't see how someone could watch this and think, third, like the realm of 30 sounds crazy to me, because like this movie, again, it affected me. I thought this movie is powerful through and through from my seat on it.
Sure.
Whereas, and obviously, someone else who's come and watch it with a different situation, a different perspective, that can shift a little. I don't agree with like, someone's, I think it's similar to other things we talked about with like reviews before. It's like, if you didn't watch the film, don't say anything about it, because
you're not allowed to talk about it. Those are the rules.
Some of that is happening here, I think, with some of the things I've seen on that front.
The unfortunate thing is every one of these faith-based films automatically take a negative light for whatever reason.
And that's what I'm getting at.
Let the movie earn its bad review.
Yeah.
Don't artificially give it one until you see it.
Yeah.
Like, look, because I don't think this movie's overly terrible.
No.
It's just like, it's one of the things where it's borderline to me.
Yeah.
And like, I have more negatives than I have positive. That's all. Like, look, I recommend everybody should see this movie because like, this is a good family story. So
that's not a fun family film.
No, I didn't say that.
Good family story.
Well,
two different.
Definitely made me cry though.
Oh, I was in tears. I was in full blown tears multiple times. But here's so one thing that the movie does start out with: Austin is narrating his experience growing up in this family, and part of it is he talks about when something breaks, it breaks. It's how a family mends. That's how you come back from it. And so like I feel like the movie had to be more than just Oz and the dad, because the family element was brought in so early that they had to focus on, and this is adapted from a book. I've never read it. I know the book exists. I've never read it, but I imagine some of the criticism of this film, it tries to tackle too much, and maybe it does. Again, it's like one of those things, it's all subjective, because like what Chris and I saw as heartwarming and moving and we really enjoyed, Roger, you weren't really on that same page. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just one example of very different views from one film.
I don't think all of this is that way though, because like, there are some things that this, shine out to me of this like stuff that would need to be addressed and stuff that doesn't get addressed throughout this whole movie. Let's talk about Dad for a second. Dad has clearly got some OCD issues, which actually really lines up with some of the alcoholic tendencies for sure.
Yeah.
And like, we just gloss over the fact that Dad has been talking to an imaginary friend his whole fucking life. Like, I don't mean that as a joke. Like, he needs evaluated because like he may have something legitimately like not like right. Like
I think that's the connection they're making though near the end, right?
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yes, they definitely do on purpose. Like at some point, it's like Dad realizes that, oh, wait a minute, like a lot of this stuff lines up, because like at first you see him like line up the salt shakers and stuff.
Oh yeah,
and like listen, people do that. That's an OCD thing, but like a lot of those things bleed over in other parts of life, especially when you have an addictive personality, alcoholic tendency. Like in the whole conversation, which really fucking annoyed me. Okay. On the golf course with his imaginary buddy, Joe, when he was like, who brought up addiction? And he's like, you did. He's like, no, you did. And then we don't ever talk about addiction again. Not once. We end up in rehab and Alcoholics Anonymous. We never use the word addiction again, which I thought was weird.
Okay.
Because why bring that up? because couldn't Joe just like, man, maybe you are just drinking too much. Because like even your self-conscious probably knows, well, man, maybe I'm fucking drinking too much.
I have a question.
They chose to use the word addiction there for some reason, and maybe it got cut out. I don't know.
No,
but like that's an OCD thing though.
They use the word addiction because he's admitting that he has a problem. He's admitting to himself.
No, hold on, no. His subconscious is telling him he has a problem, and his real self is be like, fuck you, no I don't, but then we never go back to that. Well, the only ever time we see him disagree with Joe again is when he's fucking hammered and he's like, you're a terrible father and you shouldn't drive home. Like that's the only time we see them not vibe.
What's the thing? He says on the golf course, he's the one that says the word addiction. Joe doesn't say it. He says it.
I know.
So like that's him. Then that's him saying it.
He immediately says, he said, why did...
But that's him saying it.
Okay.
Either one of them says it. It's him who's saying it.
I get that, but they purposely portray this in the film as not that way.
Well, sure, and I understand that, but that's the thing. It's like also from a studio executive and from a screenwriting, you've already brought up the word addiction, so okay, you brought it up. You've approached it. It's in the film. It's been mentioned. Move on from it. Don't waste any more time on it. That could have also been a thing too, because like that's once it's brought up, check done off the board. Like it's been brought up.
Well, getting away from like the screenwriting angle that you have, Grayson, and like and going back to that, I thought they did that on purpose in a clever way. Maybe I'm giving too much credit.
No, good.
So like my thought was that like he had the conversation with himself, and again he brings up addiction to himself in the argument, with Joe the back and forth, and Joe says, I didn't say that, you did, and then like you said, he kind of like just says fuck off with it and
pretty much
ignores it, but like that's when he's having his spiral, and he's choosing to say, no, I don't, I'm good, or I'm fine, or I need this, or whatever his addict reason is to keep going. And then him going to an Alcoholics Anonymous is that admission of addiction. You know what I mean? So like I thought it was them saying, no, he's not there. He doesn't believe that for sure. It's starting to be there that it could be. That's why the conversation happens between him and himself, which I know sounds weird if you haven't seen the film. But
it makes sense. Like if you watch the movie, it makes sense.
It works. But like, and
sort of on the fact that he's got an imaginary.
but then he's already in the spiral, and he's not pulling himself out because he hasn't had that catalyst moment.
Well, yeah, he hasn't had, the alcoholics call that a moment of clarity.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like he hasn't had that catalyzing moment. He has the catalyzing moment. He's like, shit. And that's when he, he's literally lost everything, because that's, for a lot of men, that's what it fucking takes.
Gone. Yep.
And then it's like, okay, I need to fix me for me, not for anyone else.
No,
that's the way this works.
That's the way a lot of stuff works addiction wise. Is you can't fix it for other people.
Exactly. Well, I mean,
you have to fix it for yourself.
Which again, they make a good point of showing that with he's not telling the wife anything. He's not boasting. Only reason why she knows anything is because the kids mention it, and he doesn't even talk about it really with the kids, because again, like Oz only knows because of the coin. That's what he brings up.
Yeah, and he does bring up the coin.
And it's like she gets that information secondhand, from that side of things, and I think that's an important point that the movie does a good job portraying. Again, like I see the things that this movie is doing right in those regards, whereas like someone else watching it has had a completely different reaction. I think these are good movie opinions and good criticisms to have, good discussion points. Again, I don't see where the film is rated low for it. I think the movie is making you think. It has emotional stakes. It has good character, good acting. My biggest issue is the fact that this movie is going to get, like Grayson said at the beginning, it's going to get trash canned and glossed over. No one's going to see this. No one's going to talk about it, when this is better than Shazam too. You know what I mean?
Sure.
This is better than I think this is better than some things we've seen for the Oscars.
I would agree with that 100%.
Like as a movie that is just a piece of cinema that tells a story and is emotional, this thing does it right. Like it's from my perspective,
it gets a lot of things half right.
Okay, that's fair.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I have a lot of questions. So we never saw him go through any kind of withdrawal, did we?
Well, so here's the thing. It's sort of implied, but and that's okay, because like, look, people especially with alcohol, you know, you withdraw differently. Some people have like real actual like chemical dependency problems, and other people just sort of like, man, I gotta have a drink.
With him having OCD, it's more likely a compulsion than it is an actual physical body addiction. There's different levels of that with different,
which is one of the things here. Why I mentioned like when a lot of the stuff lines up with Dad, like there's a diagnosis there, and like I'm not saying that stuff can be completely cured, but it can be ruminated.
Yeah.
So
he's not going to have. He may not have the whole withdrawal symptoms, the sweats, the shakes, and all that.
Yeah, he might not need alcohol to function.
Also, alcohol is one of the substances that's very easy to pull yourself out of that that spiral of having the adverse reaction, like you're detoxing from it, because you have a shot and all of a sudden, again, if it's a mental addiction, you're fine all of a sudden. Yeah. Like it clicks. So it all depends. It's different than opioids, and it's different if you have that physical or mental like compulsion to drink.
Well, I've had some friends that have gone through it, and I've tried to help some of them, and I've successfully helped some of them. And there's
good for you.
There's very often tears involved in
it's never easy.
F this, F that. I don't want to deal with the shit. Like he didn't have to go through any of that, but I don't know if that's like, well, the movie doesn't want to show that.
Well, maybe. Here's the thing. That's in a movie that's trying to be overtly positive, which this movie definitely is.
It is.
That's a tough thing for a lot of people to swallow.
This is one of the Kingdom films, meaning it's one of the faith-based films. And in the beginning, when I thought it was weird too, because if you're going with one, it's weird. It's weird how they make that decision one way, but in the beginning, they had 3 dates. She got pregnant. Not very Christian of you. Not very faith-based of you.
A lot of people, which is something that I think is important to this movie, which is something I respect it for, is they show that, you know, they end up being drawn more together because of some of the faith stuff. And like, again, you know, this movie doesn't do the heavy-handed, only the church saved us shit. Like they don't do that.
There was more of that in Reagan.
They're God.
You know what I mean?
Like, it's so fucking true. But like the way the church is in play here is interesting, right? Because like, church, a lot of people find church is a good thing. It's a calming influence, a steady thing in a lot of people's lives. Like if you're into that, cool, that's fine. You know, that's whatever choices that you make. The way that the church is portrayed here is actually from a realistic perspective, which is, you know, like, hey, real people go to church. You know, real people get drugged to church. And like, that's something he definitely brings up here.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that he ends up in AA with his actual preacher, you know, that's a real life scenario.
Yep.
And like, if that's true, good on all of them for, you know, going through that program. But like, that's the part that I don't understand why like anybody would count this negatively towards this movie just because it is like that.
One of the reviews I saw, literally, it was a negative review on the movie, and it says just trust God and all your problems will be solved. Okay. And 1 star.
Like, look, we get like, one really good God-related joke in this movie.
We do.
That's fucking like legit, like laugh out loud funny.
My whole theater laughed.
Like it was funny.
Wait, you're talking about an almost revelation that he has?
Yeah.
The light shining.
Oh my God. Like, look, fucking perfection.
Yeah, like that was and everyone in my theater, which was more than I thought was going to be in this. By the way, I thought it was going to be solo in this film, and I wasn't. Like the theater chuckled. So
it's funny.
Statistics tells me that this kind of movie and the age of my crowd, probably most of them were at least at one point church going people, and they thought it was funny.
It was funny because it is funny.
I'm sure
good jokes pay off sometimes.
That's the thing is like we all think that we're the ones that God chose to shine through at that particular moment. We got through it because, like, we all think that. We've all thought that way before.
I don't need that kind of pressure in my life.
I did, terrible. Here's the thing: it's like I actually would have thought it appropriate had that not been a joke and the guy had been like, "It's
with that joke, I started to roll my eyes."
Oh, because listen, it seems shitty.
Yeah, like I started to roll my eyes. And I was like, "Oh, here we fucking go!" And then the joke lands, and like I was like, "Okay, that's good, thank you." You know what I mean? Like, you know,
I wouldn't have found like if Joe would have been like, "I'd really like a drink right now." I wouldn't just double down on it.
I wouldn't have found it out of place, but also the fact that the preacher was in AA too. Like, I'm sure all of this is real.
That's a real thing, you know. Like look, because that's real people, especially people that go through programs like that, end up being more drawn into faith-based things, and that's statistically it makes sense.
But like that is, I'm sure.
I'm sure that's a real thing. Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Those details down to like
I won't bet my life on it, but it's way heavy.
Those details, along with like also like her down to like her playing Gears of War, I'm sure are real details. Like those are real life in those people's things.
Well, like, look, let's just not talk about addiction and like say that she doesn't like just put her headphones on and just fucking game out when she should be doing
ignoring her sister after she just said that
after she kicked her fucking husband out for being an alcoholic. She's like, you want to talk about this? She's like, fuck no.
One of the things I wanted, one of the things I was hoping we would discuss too in this film is, or at least the film.
How much you want to talk about Gears of War? We can go for a while.
It's going to be on PlayStation soon, boys.
That's good.
Can be no greater victory for me. Thank you very much. I thought that because you guys, and this is going to be an odd call out, but it's something I've always remembered from Forrest Gump. Do you remember when Forrest Gump, when Jenny starts to come back and Forrest goes to visit her and she's like, "Oh, this is your son," and he has that immediate reaction of he backs up into the other room. He's terrified because he thinks his son is, because if it's his son, that means he's also going to be stupid. He has that initial reaction. That's one of the things that I really missed in this film, especially from Zachary Levi's character Scott, is because he's found a way to deal with the world. He found Joe as a way to process things, and we all have little idiosyncrasies that we do that, like, when I'm in large crowds, I don't do well in large crowds. I have to do my own thing to like calm down a little bit, and like that's just me. But he found his way to deal with the world. I am surprised we didn't.
Joe's inner monologue.
Well, sure, but it's his way of also dealing with the world, because I think that's our way of, like, he's somewhat on the spectrum too. It's like that's just how he deals with things, especially with the salt shaker, the OCDs. Like, it's all played into that somehow. I thought we'd get more of the I'm scared about this because I don't want him to have what I have. And we got it from her side because she talks about the genetics of the brittle bone thing.
Well, yeah, it just takes Dad longer to realize, like, he does have some of what Dad has.
That's what I was kind of...
Yeah, well, Dad's just a little slow to the draw.
He has that moment, though, at the end.
It just takes him, 4 quarters of the movie to...
No, agreed. But, like, it's I don't think it's not present. I just think that it's... But again, I think, Grayson, that point for you, it's like you're looking for something to be there that isn't.
No.
That, like, the movie didn't choose to go down. Very hard. The whole brittle bone thing, that one's hard to kind of like not be there because it's like literally like genetic disease.
I want to talk about one thing with the bone thing for a second. It's like, I'm very happy I didn't have to watch this little kid break like 50 bones in his body, because like, man, there are some cringy moments in here, like where the kid throws himself on the ground and breaks his wrist. It's just like, oh man, that's just terribly bad luck.
Listen, she got mad at him, and he did nothing wrong.
He didn't do anything wrong. Like,
but as a parent, it's like you feel like you need to blame someone, or something.
Well, immediately you have to blame him because he's in charge.
Well,
the
kid was closest to him.
I get why he gets blamed for that, but like, again, you're right. He did nothing wrong there.
But she brings it a point later to say it's always all of his breaks are on your watch.
Hold on, it's a shitty thing for her to say because she's frustrated, but also she's not wrong.
Look, but if it's true, it's true. It's not.
It's so like, look,
yeah, I agree.
In hindsight, he does stuff the kids in the back of the car and drive home fucking hammered. I mean, so maybe Dad is in the wrong.
Well, sure, okay, I'll grant you that. And one more thing I wanted to ask, though, is like the one thing we also missed too. I also think should have been in the film and wasn't. Is like the conversation when they found out they were pregnant a second time. It's like, oh no, is this going to happen a second time? Like, what parent wouldn't be worried?
They talk about it a little bit.
So yeah, and I actually gave the movie a thumbs up for not going there, because like I feel like that is something. And again, I think this is where like Roger wants would have liked to see some of the stuff that was left out. Where I think because of the time of the film and just cutting things out to tell a story on screen, I'm assuming they had that conversation.
Sure, at least a little bit, right?
That worry.
I have no problem with that.
I don't know if you need to highlight that with 3 minutes of movie time.
Well, the other thing too is like all you're doing is depressing everyone.
But okay.
I assure you that's a tough, drawn out conversation that not everybody wants to see it portrayed.
Earlier in this conversation, we talked about Roger, you brought up stuff that could have happened off screen. You know, Chris and I are okay with it happening off screen, but you kind of wanted to see it. So you see what I mean about like
bigger thing though.
Yeah. So the thing is with like how the kid deals with stuff at school and stuff is something that we don't talk about very much at all. Because like, look, the one thing that I never had a real feeling about is like, it seems like Oz is having a great time at school.
Oh, he lives for it.
One of the things that tends to happen with special needs kids in general is like not everybody buys into the fact like, hey, just because this kid's different, I don't have to be nice to him. And like, look, they don't have to be nice to him because like that's how kids are. And like, I never really get this vibe besides the Tyler character. You know, everybody's kind of digging him. Like they've been around him the whole run through. He's never been segregated off to the other classroom or whatever. He's always been part of this. So they know him. They know he's an overly positive kid, and that's excellent. Like I think that, you know, that whole part of the story where like, you know, they want him to come back. I think that's great. Like honestly, that's fucking awesome. But like when it comes to like the stuff in school, like with the Tyler character, and especially with the dynamic with Logan, okay,
the brother,
the little brother, you know, we don't get a whole lot of the Logan story, and that's probably, you know, because like we have a whole lot of mom and dad story here.
He's the second kid. He's the least important.
Well, sure.
I'm the oldest, by the way.
That makes more sense, and yes, as am I. So
Hi, Jake.
That's true. But like the way it's portrayed, like Logan would have a very influential part of Oz's run through school in general, right? And like you can see, like they must deal with that off screen because like we get the whole thing with Dad and Logan and Oz in the car. We're like, I made a new best friend today. His name is Tyler, and Logan's like, it's all right.
Yeah,
you know, like he's like he's vetted him already. You know, I got this, pops. You know, like that kind of. Like, I'd like to see more of that kind of dynamic.
That's the thing. It's like that's the tough part. Is how this movie made me think about Wonder. And you remember that film?
Because you're supposed to.
Well, in that film, the older sister didn't get a lot of screen time either. But like Logan, the screen time she got, it was very strategic in where it was placed and why she was there. Same with Logan, though, is like I was wondering when that was going to come to a head because we saw Logan several times. Like, oh man, I'm kind of embarrassed that he's talking to people. And
I have one last negative thing to say, and like it's
Jesus,
dude. It's not overly negative.
Just give it a 35 on Metacritic, why don't you?
It's something that I thought was kind of cringy, and I think you guys might agree with me here, right? Okay. So going back to the Tyler Logan thing, where they become friends.
Yeah.
Like this whole thing in the principal's office where he gives him the skateboard.
Yeah.
Like I understand the point of that story. Like I get it. Like, you know what? We have no reason to be enemies. Like I'd rather have you as my friend. Like that is a good message.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's not the problem that I have. Was the entire way that they're like, they decide to give this kid his skateboard in the most awkward fucking situation I have ever seen play out on a screen.
Yeah.
Like that was so douchey and cringy to me.
I would have got my ass beat by that kid again.
Oh my, I'd be like, I'm fucking you up tomorrow. Like, God,
it'd have been, oh, thanks for the skateboard. I'm gonna fucking kill you
with it.
Like that's what happens after
skateboard. That. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Tell your bitch mom I said thanks.
In the room, he says it. Yeah,
for real. It's like, look, and I mean, listen. Those people became real friends, and I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
But like. Woof! That was rough.
Well, so
you're supposed to. You're not supposed to walk away with the roughness. So you're supposed to walk away with the uplift, positive, forward momentum that.
They don't lay it out on screen that well.
How much of that is this is a faith-based movie kind of thing?
So that's the one part of this I thought was fucking corny. Like that scene felt corny.
Now, but here's the other thing. I have a 10-year-old daughter.
Sure,
right. She is the nicest kid in the world. It's literally her superpower.
Good. That's
but she would do that. I'm assuming Logan's like 11. You know what I mean? So like,
yeah, okay. Well, he's supposed to be 2 years younger. So that's like, fair. Yeah,
I'm assuming that it's. I mean, you know, kids think like that. But hold on. But I don't think this character in this situation does. I can see it happening though, but I don't think this is a real part of the story.
Okay. Yeah. So 100%. I don't either. But so. I'm glad your child is nice. But like, if she came to you and your wife and she explained it to you, would you let this play out?
No, absolutely not.
No, you would not let that happen.
No.
You'd be like, look, I'm so thankful that you are a good kid and I want to help you do this. We are not doing it that way.
I would look at my kid and I would go, what's Tyler's last name? She'd say the last name. I'd look at my wife and say, message the mom on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm doing. I think
we can get the number, like we can have like a conversation.
Yeah, like,
like maybe like try to patch this up.
Yeah, because I'm not messaging the mom.
Maybe send him a $20 fruit basket. Well, that's the thing is you're not.
Or like, look, you give the kid a skateboard.
Yeah, that's fine. 100%. That part's fine. Not the principal's office in a gift wrap bag with mom there to watch it.
Of course not with mom.
Look how nice my boy is.
So proud of my boy.
Okay, let me ask, why was Tyler's mom not there? Or someone from like
Tyler's mom's dying, dude.
Well, I get that.
Hold on.
We know that.
Well, no. We never confirmed that.
Oh my god! I don't. No,
that's not a joke. Now, hold on, that's not a joke, right? So, like,
sure,
we have the information. I'm not saying he would lie, but would you be surprised if some of his facts weren't exactly 100% checked out? I'm just
someone told him some bullshit.
Listen, even the smartest kids are fucking stupid.
Oh yeah. And
I would imagine maybe it didn't happen.
Would Austin 100% be like, somebody comes and be like, don't mess with Tyler, his dad's in jail. He's like,
hold on. I don't
like
go ahead, Grace. The skateboard thing probably definitely did happen in a similar way. I'm sure. Why?
Because it feels too douchey to be written.
Because it feels so inauthentic. It feels so like, why would that be the way you write it if that wasn't true?
I think Roger's right though. It's the one thing that sticks out that's really corny. So it's almost like whoever was who is approving the script was like,
we need a little bit more.
We need just a little bit more. We need something like let's have a bully story to where like they really do come together, and it's because of the kindness and faith in people. Like I could see that being the discussion.
The one thing that I think that they set this up right is when Tyler gets when he gets Oz going down the line when he's doing the speech.
Yeah.
Like, as he's being removed from the room, like, you kind of see his face, like, drop a little bit, like, and I think, like, I could see that as, like, a turning point. Yeah. Where you're like, you know what? He only did that because I provoked him to do that. Maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. Because, like, look.
Maybe I'm the asshole.
Well, not even necessarily. Because, like, look, you don't try to give the kid too much credit, but, like, be like, wait a minute. Because, like, kids don't see things quite as black and white. But you see from the grace, I'd be like, oh. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. And then, like, that's the kind of thing that snowballs into more stuff later on. Mm-hmm. Not be like, I'm going to beat your little brother's ass and take his skateboard, and now we got to be buddies.
Yeah.
Like, look, if I'm Tyler, I'm more embarrassed that I let the little kid take me to the ground and just fucking pummel me.
Yeah,
I'm embarrassed.
I think the Tyler thing was...
Like, you got TKO'd by the ref.
I think the Tyler thing was a bridge too far in the film. I think that's the one thing I would have been like, you know what? After watching this, we got 6 months before it comes out. Maybe we got to cut the Tyler thing.
Well, the other thing
seems like too much.
We're supposed to see, besides the fact that he gets in the fight with Logan, but before that, like, he never really does anything overly negative to Oz, right? Like, he fucks with him because that's what kids do. It's like, it's nothing egregious. You know what I mean? Like, they don't stuff in the locker room. They don't mess with him.
Yeah, but Austin doesn't understand the messing. He thinks they're legitimately best friends.
I get that too. So but like from what we see on screen, he doesn't do much to him.
Yeah, but
I mean that's the other thing too. I don't want to see a kid get bullied a whole lot either.
Yeah,
so I get
that. And people, especially kids, are weird though, right? Like it's
sure, yes, even the smart kids are stupid.
He feels bad about doing something to a special needs kid. So maybe you do beat up the little brother and be a dick to the kid, because
you can be a dick to him and not okay. Well, actually, I see that.
It's a lot of self-loathing crap.
Sure, especially if the kid is coming from the rough thing. Again, though, like I said, we never actually confirmed.
Not confirmed, but
it's funny. It's funny because all the people that wanted Oz back in the end, this is what I thought was weird too. Of all all the kids miss him. Like the woman's like, which again, it made me like I was crying at that point.
Yeah, no, listen, that felt nice. That was a good part of the story.
None of those kids in the classroom were like, whoa. Osman may have done that weird thing with the speech, but like he was provoked.
Yeah, Tyler's a fucking dickhead, right, teacher?
Hey, maybe those conversations happened though. You know what I mean?
I don't. If it's off screen to me, maybe it doesn't happen. But
the one thing I'll give Oz credit for is like that girl with the zipper.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, yeah. I can't believe the teacher didn't throw.
No,
a book
because
at
I'd be like, "Fucking stop! Fucking stop it! Stop it!" What's wrong with you?
But for what it's worth, I have a hard time seeing people go into this movie and be like, I didn't like it.
I mean, like, look, I have a hard time if you had to score it from 100, the aggregate score being a 35. I do have a hard time believing that. Now, like, look, I'm not super surprised that it comes in below, slightly below 50 on some things. Like, I'm not surprised by it because, like, look, I don't think this movie is overly awful. Again, this is a movie that, much like we've dealt with the last couple of weeks, is probably closer to borderline, but just below the good for me.
Okay.
And like, I'm glad that we could have a discussion like this to see why you guys think one thing and I think another. Like I'm totally okay with that. Like I try not to look at movies in an overly negative light, but it seems like that's what I'm doing lately.
No. It's just if the movie didn't speak to you, speak to you.
Well, that's the thing. Is like this movie at best for me is it's never better than okay.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's just got negative sides with it. So.
I think it's probably the opposite for me. I think that the movie's probably at that 45, 50, 55 mark, in actuality, but the connection that I had with, like the stuff that the parents are going through, again, just because like my perch on the situation probably has it higher for me. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
like I definitely felt connected. I like this movie pulled tears out of me. It really, it was emotional, but it's for different reasons and different points than Grayson probably.
Listen, anytime when kids are involved, man, it's
the hardest point for me was when they're dropping the kid off in the psychiatric hospital and the mom breaks down behind the door. It's like that is a moment that parents would go through. I absolutely see that. And it was just, it affected me. So it's
no one knows.
The movie's good at that.
No one knows that child like a mother, and I imagine it's probably the same in your family, Roger. Like no one knows your daughter like your wife. It just that's the thing that's a tough moment I think for especially a mom. My God, a mom would. It's just raising a child like that, and then seeing him or her go into that kind of situation. It's just heartbreaking at the best of times, but.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of those things. See, that's what I thought you were talking about, Roger, when you were like unfair, like heartstrings being pulled. It's like I thought that's where you're going with them.
No, I do agree. I do agree with Roger to a degree on his point there because like I think the biggest one for me was when Mom was driving down the highway and Mom has a moment where she does just let go for a second. Like that felt like a pull at that heartstring in a cheap way. And and maybe they talked about it when the making the film. It's like maybe that
Well, we never see Mom like really break besides when she drops him off at the thing. Besides the car thing.
Yeah. So it's like it's like maybe that was a little that was for like the movie magic side of it, and that one does kind of ring a little hollow. But all the other things that like they go through to me feel pretty genuine from from the perspective that like that I have on it. So.
Sure.
I did think it was weird that in a faith-based movie we almost saw twice a head-on collision of a family in a car with someone else.
True.
But that was kind of weird. Twice we saw that. We almost saw that.
Well, I mean, we also get a kid.
Isn't that what happens in Signs?
Absolutely. Well, no, she's smashed into the tree.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And the car's holding her body together.
Remember in the
Scary Movie 3.
Yes, that's what.
And then the mariachi music is playing. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, excellent.
What movie did you watch? Because I don't know. I don't remember that. No, I'm just kidding. I know.
What was I had one more thing. Nah, it doesn't matter. Must not be that important. But I mean, yeah. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about with this guy? Or
I think my final points on talking about the Unbreakable Boy is that I think this movie is better than what you're seeing on scores. I agree with Grayson on that point, and I do feel like it's a shame that it's not going to make more money because here's the thing. This is a 2025 film.
Well, hold on. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good.
Go ahead, finish your point.
I was just going to say 2025 Oscars are going to come around next year, and I'm going to be pissed when there's 4 out of 5 films that just seem out of nowhere and don't feel like they had any actual stake or pull to me. But then I watched Unbreakable Boy and felt like that that there is good acting, there is good storytelling, there's good supporting roles, there's good all these things. Not saying this should be up for an Oscar, but saying that like I've seen other things not do well. In comparison.
Yeah, no, I understand that. So I remember the one thing that I wanted to bring up. So this movie's been in the can for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Almost 4 years. It's been done since late 21, which, I thought we were done having those movies. Like I thought they'd got most of those out, so it was kind of an anomaly to see one that just kind of sat there for a few years in like oblivion. So.
Yeah,
which is weird because I'm surprised that they held something like this unless they had a specific reason to that they haven't really made public.
I mean, I'm going to say this, and I don't want to dive into it, but Zachary Levi isn't Hollywood's favorite actor.
Well, so. I mean, that's true, and also what he has had to say about some certain things that are very autism adjacent, which is kind of strange, and I think you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
that's well,
I don't know. So I mean, that might be a long way. So he may have said some really foot and mouth things about autism. Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't dig into that. Yeah,
we're not going to talk about that. I'll tell you about what he said here in a little bit.
Sure. That's what I don't know. Did you guys see the trailer for Bob Trevino Likes It or whatever with John Leguizamo on this film?
No.
Like, I saw other trailers.
I think that because John Leguizamo has been such a bad light, I think he needed a film like that. When you see a trailer, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
He kind of finds a surrogate daughter whose dad casts her aside, and she's just. But it's a really feel good movie. But like, look, John Leguizamo needs that right now. So I'm guessing you were saying that Zachary Levi needed this movie to. Anyway, but it's weird to me. Zachary Levi he's just one of those guys that he came and gone, and he's done in Hollywood. Like, he's not doing anything else. Nothing big.
In an interview he did with Pierce Morgan, I think that's who it was.
Bold.
I think he pretty much said and confirmed exactly that. Is that he's probably he's probably done in that sphere, and he's okay with that. I think is where he's at too.
Well, he's done several big things.
Maybe I nuked a couple of bridges, and that's going to be that. Huh?
I think so. Yeah.
Come up and
there's nothing wrong with small bit player roles or dad roles or there's nothing wrong with those.
Those villain checks cash, baby.
Right.
I don't mean villain checks. I just mean like he's not going to be the main center of a film ever again.
We know what you meant, and I know what Roger meant.
Yeah.
I agree with Roger.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. But he's one guy I'd like to dig into one day in an episode. Only because I've met him, I've talked to him, and he seems down to earth.
Hey, get him on the show.
It's weird that you haven't asked him to be on the show.
We can start rehabbing his image next week. 2 weeks from now.
We'll sit him down, Zach, and start ripping some cigarettes. That's right.
I'll bring the smokes.
That's Timothy Chalamet.
That's true. Fine.
Wait, you fucking know Chalamet?
No, I don't know.
Son of a bitch.
He looks like a guy that.
All right. Let's end.
Not that cool.
Let's end this bogey.
Timothy Chalamet knows a lot about football. Never forget
That's true. Actually, yeah, you're right.
Him and Grayson could not be friends.
I know a little bit about sports ball.
Wrap us up.
Thank you guys for joining me for this discussion of The Unbreakable Boy, and we got a little bit of a complete unknown in there. So next week is the Oscars. I'm very kind of timidly excited about that, apprehensively excited, but I am excited nonetheless. We'll have a good recap for you next week, and we'll see who was able to pick the most correct answers on the Oscar ballot. Chris thinks it's going to be him. I don't know. It could be.
It was me last year. I'm ready to win again.
All right. Thank you for joining us.
I'm not even going to read it. I'm just going to select.
I'm
just going to put my finger over the things, just see where it goes.
Each new episode posted every Tuesday morning at 5 a.m. on the podcast service of your choice of the following 6: Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. Please leave a comment, rate, subscribe. Every little bit helps, more importantly. And as always, thank you very much for listening.
Hey, hit the like and subscribe button down below. And if you think we're stupid dickheads, make sure you tell us in the comments section. That's totally okay.
And tell it to Roger's giant hand that's in the fucking
That's true.
camera.
Yes, right in front of the thing. Yes.
Smash that button.
What's the